Greetings! So, over here, it's finally spring. It's the season that kind of always takes its time to, get started over here. So it's really nice to see the tulips coming out, the crocuses coming out. We're starting to see some buds in the trees, so perhaps we'll get leaves somewhat soon. But yeah, it's nicer, it's warmer, everybody's mood is improved, and it kind of puts everyone in a mood for renewal in a way. Stuff like cleaning up, decluttering, the big spring cleaning. And right at that moment, I got an email from MEEDEN with a really nice opportunity to rejuvenate my painting corner, which is super exciting. So really, how bad could it be? I paint often. It's a space that gets used, so usually when a space gets used, it's not necessarily the spot where you leave a lot of clutter. So how bad can it be? Do I really need a cleanup? And yeah, I do. Just have a look, okay? So my current art corner is extra messy. There's a lot of things on the floor, and there's a lot of things everywhere, and everything is piled up. And of course, you can probably see that it's not a big corner. My space is limited. But even then, I feel like I could do much better, because this is not a great space for creating stuff. And also, I have ongoing issues with the ergonomics of my painting area. I get a lot of tension headaches and muscle stiffness from painting in one position for too long. My posture is not great with my current setup, which is basically about rolling my computer chair to the other desk and painting flat on my table. The very first step that I gotta go through before I can do any kind of significant change is to sort the place out. At the moment, there's just no room for anything, so I need to create space to be able to improve my painting area. Now, as far as all declutters go, when you sort things out and kind of clean it up, it always starts by making a bigger mess. You basically have to take everything out and put it somewhere, and then decide what to do with it, and then reorganize stuff in the place that you've cleared. So basically. Also, I had to do this over 2 days in multiple passes because of just life. After 2 days of working on this, I was able to get it to a point where there's enough room to start thinking about adding stuff to improve the whole setup. Also, now there was enough room to build furniture to improve the whole setup. I apologize for my floor, it's very ugly, but the advantages of an ugly floor is that you're not really scared about using paint and perhaps dropping some paint. So that's the silver lining of a very old, ugly floor. So I have 2 items to assemble. First one is a sketchbook easel. I wanted to give this specific sketchbook easel a try because, first of all, it's larger than the ones that I've tried before, and it also has what I would describe as a full back. The other desk easels that I've tried before, they were more for painting and would assume that you kind of have a sturdy, rigid surface like a canvas to prop on it. But I don't really work with canvases. I work with smaller sketchbooks, small pieces of paper, so I would always have to add an extra backing and then put my paper on that backing. And it's not very convenient. It's a bit messy and stuff moves around and tips over and just, a bit of a mess. This desk easel also has an angle that is fully adjustable. You don't decide the angle in notches or stuff like that. It's the screws on the side that you tighten when the angle is to your liking. So I quite like this feature of this particular desk easel. I don't tend to work very big, like I've said, but the way this is made, you could definitely accommodate larger pieces. The sort of top is expandable, so you can modify the height of the support, but not exactly the width of the support, if that makes sense. This one was really easy to put together. Didn't take a lot of time. There's not really anything to build. You just have to put the right screws in the right spots and then put the separators in their spot, and that's about it. No tools needed, nothing. It was really straightforward. So here is how it looks on my desk. It's pretty interesting that it can also be used to store things in it, though I haven't really figured out what yet, but I like this sort of feature of it. If anything, I can put stuff behind it as I work, and it's kind of secured in place. this way. The second item that I'll be building is a drafting stool. This one was more complex to build than the easel. There's more pieces, there was more stuff to screw together, but it was still overall quite simple, and it comes with instructions, so that was really helpful. I'm not a very strong person, I don't have a lot of strength in my fingers, but I was still able to do just fine. I took my time and I used the little tools that are included with the set, and I was able to, build it up relatively easily. So I wanted to get a drafting stool for the painting table, like I said, for ergonomic reasons. It was not very ideal to have to roll my computer chair from one desk to the other, as it's sort of set up for the computer desk and not the painting desk, and they're not the same desks, they're not the same height, all of that. The drafting stool, while it might look less comfy because it's just a hard wooden seat, is really good for not being stuck in one position for too long. As there's no back and armrests, it makes it really more convenient for the painting table too. And the seat is adjustable in height. So that's another thing that's super important for me, as I'm a very short person. So getting furniture to work together with the fact that I'm short, I need stuff to be adjustable, and this is just perfect for that. With the stool, I tend to fidget a bit more, I tend to get up, readjust. So in that sense, it really works for me. So the stool came with all the screws and tools you need to put it together. The only thing that was not included in the box, or perhaps I missed it, but it was not in the instructions either, is some sort of felt pads for the feet of the stool. I had some left over from other furniture from a long time ago, so I just cut them to size and attached them to the bottom, and they work perfectly fine. With the felt pads, the stool moves smoothly and it works just great. So that's the stool and the easel sorted out. These are the main elements that will improve my workspace. Another smaller element that will make work much easier and smoother is the addition of this ceramic palette to my setup. It's a pretty straightforward item and nothing particularly unique, but this one fits perfectly with my other supplies. I think it was the ceramic palette that I needed in a way. I can store it on top of my water ball lids when not in use, and then when in use, it's large enough to grant me sufficient mixing space, but also small enough to fit on my small desk along with a sketchbook, a palette, and a brush rag. Also, I can set it up really nicely in front of the desk easel. It fits really well there, and it's just the right size. That's the main thing that's kind of difficult to figure out, is what size do you need the palette to be? Well, this one really works for me. And finally, the last little thing that I want to showcase is this really neat watercolor paper block from MEEDEN. Now, what's peculiar about this one is that it has all three paper textures within the same block: rough, cold press, and hot press. So they seem to be grouped by type of paper. So you have, I think it's the rough paper first, then the cold press, and then the hot press. So it might not be handy if you go back and forth between the different texture for your work, but it's a really awesome way to test out paper textures and see what you like. As you work through this block, you get a sufficient number of pages to really try out all the paper textures. I think it's really cool. It's also a really nice size for illustration, I feel. I took out my MEEDEN palette to try out the new setup, the paper and the palette. On the easel, I noticed that I can use strong magnets with metal plates to attach my reference swatch card and a piece of paper to test out colors. As there's a bit of room above my paper, I can have these propped up there and they're not in the way. So that's cool. The board of the easel is relatively thin enough so that the magnets work to hold the paper in place, but also it's not too thin that it feels flimsy. It was really pleasant to paint with this setup. I was able to paint this whole thing and didn't have any paint issues, so that's a win. Also, as you can see, the blue masking tape works really well on this paper. I think this is the rough texture paper and the tape peeled off super cleanly and effortlessly. My final impressions. I'm really liking this new setup. It's nice to have the room, the fact that I cleared up that area really works along with the new furniture, but it's really nice. It's super easy to switch between all the different arrangements that I need to do all the tasks that my work requires. If I'm painting, the easel is lightweight and easy to set up, but it's also super easy to stow away if I'm not painting. painting. I can have it on the desk and it's not in the way of all the various arms I have for my phone or my microphone. It also doesn't completely block off access to the things that I have in the back of the table or my brush roll on the wall. If I need to take photos or do any kind of other work on that specific desk, I can just fold up the easel and put it away right next to the table. It's not in my way. It's easy access and it's really easy to set up again if I need to take it out again. As for the stool, I can super easily slide it under the table. It fits really nicely under the table. It's not in my way. And then when I need to stand next to the table to take photos or to film stuff, it's just perfect. I don't trip in it. It's not behind me and then I trip in it when I back away. It's safely under the table, out of my way. Perfect. When I'm painting and sitting on the stool, like I said, I really like that it's the kind of seat that is not too comfortable. So you end up moving around more, getting up, readjusting, and that's good. You don't want to be seated for hours and hours on end without moving. And you'll notice that it was not a huge investment in building a new setup or, changing the things I already have that are working. The desk is working. I just need to figure everything else. It was mainly about taking the time to sort things out with a goal in mind. My goal was to make more space so that I can work more efficiently and introduce a few small new furniture items to see if they make things better. Stuff that helps me switch setups, stuff that is not in my way when I'm working, and ideally stuff that helps with posture. It took me many iterations of my workspace to get to this point, and so far I'm really loving it, and I'm so incredibly thankful to MEEDEN for helping me figure out my space with the help of these new items. I'll have links to these specific items in the description, but I also suggest checking what other items MEEDEN offer. You might be able to find something that really works for you. Thank you so much for watching this video, and again, thank you so much MEEDEN for the collaboration, and we will see each other in the next video. Take care, bye bye.